Hey, it's Shay, and welcome back to Sips and Synopsis. In this episode of Sips and Synopsis, we're going to be going over The Silent Bride by Shalini Boland. That's why I'm in this getup. I thought it would be fun. But apparently this is a psychological thriller. And yeah, let's jump right into it. Jumping into the characters, our main character's name is Alice, and she's going to be our bride in the book. I guess this is her. Hold on. Oh wait, I should have did this for the thumbnail. And then we have Seth, who is the man she's going to be marrying, her fiance. Have Lawrence and Daisy, which are Alice's best friends. Alice currently lives with Daisy in an apartment together. They're roommates, and Lawrence, I believe, lives like 10 minutes away. Lawrence also has a girlfriend. I'm just gonna call her Lawrence's girlfriend. And then we obviously have the parents of Seth and the parents of Alice. I will just call them as such. Story opens with Alice getting ready to walk down the aisle, and she's very, very nervous. Starts walking down the aisle with her father, but when she steps into the church and looks at her fiance, she notices that she does not recognize who this man is.
I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street, I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
She's wondering, did I step into the wrong church? Why is everybody here? Why is nobody noticing that this is not Seth? She starts panicking, obviously, because if you were walking down the aisle and your husband was not there, you would be like, what is going on? She stops, her father is like, are you okay, Alice? Like, are you having second thoughts? She can't speak, she's speechless, and she doesn't know what to say. It seems to everyone that she is having a mental breakdown. Seth tries to walk up and comfort her. He's like, hey Alice, what's wrong? Are you okay? And she is like, do not come anywhere near me. She does not like his vibe. She's like, please stay away from me. So she recognizes everybody else in the church, but she just doesn't recognize Seth, and she does not recognize Seth's parents. Seth is actually a doctor, and his parents are also doctors, so her mother suggests that she go speak with Seth's parents to maybe like check her out and see if she's all right. So she's speaking with Seth's mom, and she's still very, very hesitant because she does not recognize her, and she just feels really icky. Seth's mom is trying to ask her a bunch of questions, trying to make sure she's all right. Everyone's trying to insinuate that she's trying to get out of the wedding, which she does not like because that is not true. And at this point, she is getting frustrated, and she's like, you know what, I don't want to answer any more of your questions. And she goes back into the church. When she gets in the church, she's still feeling very overwhelmed, and she doesn't want to cause even more of a scene. So her and her friend Lawrence make eye contact, and he walks over to her, asks if she's okay, and she's like, Lawrence, I just want to get out of here. And he's like, you know what? Whatever you want, let's go. I'll take you right now. Like, let's go home. As they're leaving the church, the book starts switching point of views, and we get the point of view of whoever is behind this. And just to give you an example of the other point of view that I'm talking about, this is how, after this whole fiasco and she ends up like walking out of the church with Lawrence, it switches to this POV. I honestly don't believe it. This is beyond my wildest imagining of what I thought might happen. As I watch her face, her confusion and speechlessness, I almost laugh out loud. But of course, I can't do that. I have to show shock and distress like everyone else in the church. I have to turn and ask in a whisper what's going on to seem concerned and confused. I feel like I'm having an actual out-of-body experience. She is scared and terrified. So as you can see, this was a premeditated event against our main character, Alice. At this point, she eventually makes it back to her apartment, and it time jumps to a couple days later, and her parents come to visit her, asking her if she's okay. She's told them that she has gone to the doctor to do a scan on her brain because they think that she might have that one disorder where she's not able to recognize faces. I'll put it up on the screen. It was actually it was actually used in one of the other stories I read by Alice Fenley. It says the doctor does not think that she has that, and they don't know what is going on with her. Her parents keep thinking that it's still maybe just a psychological issue and she needs to probably see a therapist. Father is kind of a hard ass and keeps insinuating that she is just trying to get out of the wedding and that she owes Seth an apology. He is just kind of frustrated, seems like he's frustrated about the whole situation. And Alice does not like that because she obviously, everything is happening to her and she thinks that he should be giving her a little bit more grace. But that's just how her father is. The book eventually starts switching between past and present, back to the time right before she got proposed to, telling her friends about it and her coworkers and everything going on with that. Basically, we find out that Seth actually has not made efforts to meet her friends. Anytime they try to plan something, he ends up canceling or ends up having to work late. One instance, Alice's sister is having an anniversary dinner and they invite Seth over because Alice's parents have still not met Seth. They're getting married, of course they want to meet. So they arrange this like fancy dinner and he ends up not showing because he has to work late, and he basically lives in London a few hours away, so if he were to leave work now, it wouldn't even matter. Everyone's kind of suspicious of Seth on why he doesn't want to meet Alice's family or meet her friends and why it's always an issue. But every weekend him and Alice spend time together, no problem. At this point it kind of puts doubt into us as the reader because we're wondering like, why is Seth being so dodgy and being so weird? When Alice's friends hear about the engagement, they throw her a party to celebrate and they invited Seth, and they were just gonna go like to a couple of bars and hang out. Seth is not able to come. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. So Alice is like taking pictures throughout the night with her friends, and one of her other friends suggests, hey, like why don't you send him some pictures of us and stuff, so like so that he kind of feels like he's hanging out with us and he gets to see us, have a good night. And she's like, oh, that's a fabulous idea. So then she starts taking pictures and sending it to him, and she takes a picture, like a little selfie with her best friend Daisy and her best friend Lawrence, like giving her a kiss on each of her cheeks. And she sends it to him and he is pissed. He's like, why would you send me a photo of Lawrence kissing you like that? Like just this random guy kissing you. Like how would you feel if I sent you a picture of a girl kissing me? And she was like, whoa, like Lawrence is my best friend. Like we've known each other since we were kids. Like me, Lawrence, and Daisy, like we're like this. She apologizes so much. And like throughout this whole like past thing, I'm like, girl, I don't know why you're marrying this man. He sounds very either insecure or controlling, or both. And there's like a B storyline where apparently Alice had an abusive ex-boyfriend, which is probably why she's settling for this BS right now, if we're being honest. Apparently she feels like he's watching her and following her around. This ends up having nothing to do with anything, so I don't even know if I'm gonna bring that back up. After meeting with Seth multiple times, Alice still does not recognize him and feels really strange around him. He is now living in the house that they were going to live in once they got married, and she ends up going to visit his old apartment in London to see if maybe she can get some clues as to what is going on, because on her social media page it seems all of her photos of her and Seth are erased, and any photos that she sees from other people, it seems that is this new Seth that she does not recognize. She goes over to the apartment and she ends up just finding the same pictures of this new Seth. She just feels hopeless. Continuing to feel hopeless about the situation, she reaches out to Daisy about it, and Daisy suggests that she talks to Lawrence, since Lawrence is a therapist. This is her best friend. She doesn't want to just trauma dump on her best friend. She thinks it'll be a little bit weird, but she knows that it'll be easier to open up to him than to open up to just some random stranger. So she ends up booking an appointment with Lawrence. They end up going on a hike together and just talking, and she tells him how she feels really shitty, how everyone thinks that she's crazy. She lays her whole heart out to Lawrence, and Lawrence, like a great friend, he's there for her and he's telling her, you know, it's okay. I don't think you're crazy. Like, we're gonna figure out what's going on and I'm here for you no matter what. And at the end of the session, he suggests to Alice that maybe she should start writing down the differences between the old Seth and what the new Seth looks like, because maybe it will help jog her memory. Because at this point, she doesn't even remember what her old Seth looks like. Yada yada yada, Alice decides that she doesn't feel anything for this new Seth and goes over to his apartment and breaks up with him. He is really devastated about this and kind of blames her a lot, which I'm like, okay Seth, like this is not a good look for you. Like at this point we're all thinking that Seth just wants to get out of this situation and it's him doing whatever the fuck he did. Now that they're broken up, she feels a weight lifted off of her. She is looking for her own apartment right now because when she was still planning on getting married, Daisy was planning on moving in her boyfriend into their apartment, and she doesn't want to retract the plans that they were going to make and is looking for somewhere else to live. She goes back to her apartment feeling like shit. She ends up calling Lawrence and she's like, hey Lawrence, like, are you doing anything right now? He's like, no. He's like, are you okay? Like, I'll come and bring you some coffees and some treats. And she's like, yes, please. Like, I need that right now. At home, Lawrence comes. He brings her coffee and her favorite, like, little pastry from the bakery that they always go to. And he's like, are you sure you're okay? Like, you would be fucking up this pastry right now. Like, so I know something must be really wrong. True friend right there, true friend. I like the girls who do drugs. Cigarettes in the back of my club. Okay, what's next? She eventually tells Lawrence that she broke up with Seth, and Seth ends up dropping a bomb on Alice that he actually has feelings for her. I didn't see that coming, because remember, Lawrence has a girlfriend, a whole girlfriend that he's had for years, like at least I think like 3 or 4 years. Alice is like, what are you talking about? You literally have a girlfriend. What? He ends up spilling that he didn't know that his feelings for her were that strong until he found out that she was getting engaged, and he realized that his feelings ran much, much deeper than he previously thought. This is a lot to drop on Alice right now, given all that she is going through. She doesn't even recognize her fiance, her wedding's called off, she's not moving, her whole life is basically, she doesn't know what the fuck is happening. And then he, of course, decides to make this all about him, and it's like, Alice, like, I've loved you my whole life. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh my god, oops. Come on, dude. Read the room. She's like, I cannot deal with this right now. I think it's best if you leave. So he leaves. The next day, her and Daisy are looking at apartments because she's still looking around. As Alice is looking at this apartment, she can't help thinking about Lawrence the entire time and wondering if maybe she has feelings for Lawrence as well that is a little bit more than friends, and if maybe this would be a good thing since they are so close. Spoiler alert, I don't think that is a good thing to break up relationship. I mean, he told her that he is gonna break up with her anyway, even if she doesn't feel the same way back. But still, that's messy as fuck because Alice is like really close friends with Lawrence's girlfriend. Alice and Daisy eventually leave, go back to their own apartment, and Daisy is like, what is going on with you? You need to tell me what's going on. She spills that her and Lawrence had a talk yesterday and that Lawrence confessed her love for her. Daisy was not looking happy about this at all, and she's like, okay, and you don't feel the same way, right? Alice is like, I don't know how I feel. And Daisy's looking at her like, are you serious? Like, I thought it was like the three amigos, and now you're telling me that you guys are just lovers now? Like, is this why you called off the wedding? Perfect timing. Lawrence's girlfriend knocks on their apartment and storms in. She is hysterical, she is crying, and she is pissed at Alice, talking about how could you do this to us? How could you be my friend and have feelings for Lawrence this entire time? How long has this been going on? And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was literally just about to get married. Lawrence just told me yesterday he has feelings for me. I didn't know anything about this. She doesn't seem to believe Alice. She starts throwing this crazy like fit. In comes in Lawrence. He's trying to calm her down. He's like, babe, like, let's go home and let's talk about this. She's like, I don't even have a home. Like, I don't want to go back there with you. He's like, you can stay there as long as you want. Like, I'll leave, but just like come back home and let's just sort this out. Alice has nothing to do with this. She had no idea about my feelings. But she, of course, does not believe that. In comes Seth. I guess he was on his way to see her to try to amend the breakup. He comes in and is wondering what the fuck is going on. And Lawrence's girlfriend is like, I don't know, ask your ex-fiance who broke up the wedding because she's in love with Lawrence. Alice and Lawrence are like, whoa, that's not true. Calm the fuck down. Lawrence is trying to stick up for Alice, and he's like, that's not true at all. I just told Alice about my feelings. She had no idea. She was literally gonna go get married to you, Seth. Seth asks Alice, is this true? Did you break up the wedding because you were having second guesses and you're in love with your best friend Lawrence? She's like, no, that's not true at all. I've only been telling the truth this entire time. It was only yesterday that Lawrence confessed his feelings to me, and it was the first I've heard of it. Obviously, to further the plot, nobody is believing Alice and Lawrence. Seth ends up punching Lawrence in the face and in the ribs and breaking his nose, and offering a ride to Lawrence's girlfriend to take her home. So Lawrence is just laid out on the floor, fucked up because his nose is broken, and Alice and Daisy are looking at each other, and Daisy's just like, I cannot, looking at Alice like she started all this drama and went to her room, and Daisy was like, well fuck, I guess I'm gonna have to take Lawrence to the hospital. She ends up not speaking with Lawrence for a while after this encounter, but of course she runs into her ex on the streets. They end up talking. He is trying to get back with her. He says that he heard about her wedding getting called off, and she is trying to deny him, and he's saying, oh what, like, are you too good for me now because you were gonna marry a doctor? He grabs onto her and is not letting her go. She eventually breaks free and runs to Lawrence's house because it was only a couple blocks away. It was pouring rain outside. Lawrence's apartment, and of course he is welcoming to her and is trying to figure out what's wrong. Lets her take a shower at his place and gets into some warm clothes, and eventually they start kissing, and one thing leads to another. To say they were doing something that Lawrence has only dreamed of doing with her. Fast forward, Alice has moved into Lawrence's apartment, and she's still moving a couple things into it, but she realizes that Lawrence is maybe a little bit more controlling or stuck up than she previously thought, or than he was when he was just her friend. He ends up going on a business trip or some kind of trip. I forgot exactly what it was. It might just been like a trip for pleasure, but I do not care. He ends up going on this trip for a couple of days out of town. Then Lawrence's ex-girlfriend comes to the apartment to speak with Alice. Lawrence's ex-girlfriend is speaking with Alice and telling her, you know, I think that it was Lawrence who might have had something to do with you not being able to recognize your fiance at your wedding. I think he sabotaged the entire thing. Alice is like, why would you say that about Lawrence? Like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, yeah, you know how he's a psychologist, right? Like, he did some classes in hypnotherapy. I think he used it on you so you wouldn't recognize your fiance, so that he could sabotage it, and then he could get with you. She's like, if you don't believe me, you can go into his home office. I know the password to his computer, and you could look at his search history, which was right before your wedding, searching how to hypnotize people and how to do this and how to do that. So you can go and get the fuck out because you don't live here anymore. Alice is bitter, and she's like, she doesn't want anything else going on, right? Alice is obviously still suspicious of what Lawrence's ex-girlfriend said to her, so she tries to go onto his work laptop, but of course the password that she gave her is incorrect, or maybe he changed it. So Lawrence comes back home from his trip. She is feeling a bit on edge about everything, and during dinner confronts Lawrence about these accusations and tells him that his ex was around and was telling her these things. He is, of course, livid about this. Alice asks him if she can look on his computer to see his search history so that she can just put her mind at ease, and he refuses because he doesn't want to give up his patient confidentiality. He ends up calling his ex and basically yelling and bitching at her on the phone, saying, I cannot believe that you would come to my house trying to spill these lies to me and Alice and trying to ruin my relationship just because we didn't work out. He ends up still being very heated after his ex hangs up the phone and starts getting aggressive towards Alice when she is just asking if he can put her mind at ease, and he's saying, I cannot believe you don't trust me. If we don't have trust, we don't have anything. Eventually, Lawrence's ex comes up, and she has another key to the apartment and lets herself in. She sees that he's being aggressive and he's not letting Alice leave, and she's like, I'm not going to leave because I don't know what you might do to Alice. He grabs a knife out of the kitchen and walks towards his ex, and that is when his ex grabs a pineapple lamp that Alice had brought as one of her decor items into the apartment and smashes it over his head, killing him. She is seen as the hero because obviously it looked like he was going to kill her. They go on trial and she pleads self-defense and she gets off scot-free. She ends up moving to another city a couple miles away. Alice feels like shit, obviously, but at least she knows what happened to her on her wedding night and she feels basically bamboozled. At the end of the book, we eventually find out that it was Lawrence's girlfriend the entire time who actually hypnotized Alice into believing that Seth was not a good guy, and eventually hypnotizing her to the point that she didn't recognize him on her wedding. And she ended up framing everything on Lawrence because, ding ding ding, her and Seth actually were in a relationship before Seth met Alice. So this whole time she just wanted to be with Seth, but Seth wanted to be with Alice. So what she did was she did this entire plan just so Seth could be single again and she could rekindle things with him. At the end of the book, Alice has gone through lots and lots of therapy and she is slowly regaining her memories of Seth. It is eventually the anniversary of the day her and Seth were supposed to get married. She actually calls Seth and asks if they can have lunch together or grab a coffee. Of course, immediately agrees and starts heading her way. And it's kind of insinuated that, hey, like, she is starting to realize that, you know, she wants her life back. And all of these people who try to ruin it, she's not gonna let them take that from her. Hopefully her and Seth are together. I hope, you know, I mean, the relationship didn't sound perfect, but whose is? I honestly don't think I'm going to get into the reviews this time because I honestly did not enjoy this book at all. I think I'm going to rate it a 2 stars just because I think they were a bit creative with the ending, with like the whole double twist of that we think that it's Lawrence who hypnotizes her, but it's really Lawrence's girlfriend since she previously had a relationship with Alice's ex-fiance. But yeah, what I liked about the book, I liked the premise of it. I thought, I mean, obviously that's why I bought it. I thought it sounded like an interesting premise. You know, you're walking down the aisle on your wedding day and she doesn't recognize her husband. It just sounded like a winding and twining, is that a word? It just sounded like a psychological thriller that I could get behind. But the book was so slow throughout, and I feel like all of the information inside the book that we read didn't give us anything that pertained to the twist at the end. And it just felt like a bit of a drag the entire time. What I didn't like about the book, I kind of just touched on, but I didn't like it at all. And I thought it was because I read a really good 5-star book before it, which is like my new favorite book of all time. I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but I thought maybe I was just numb because I had loved the other book so much and the characters. But for The Silent Bride, I did not give a fuck about any of the characters in this book. I could have cared less if they died or if they lived, and that's how I felt the entire time reading it. Even with the twist at the end, it really wasn't that exciting because, like I said, I did not care for the characters, and especially the main character. She was just so flat. That's all I have to say about The Silent Bride. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would not recommend this book to someone else unless No, I just wouldn't recommend this book to somebody else, unfortunately. If you did like this book, let me know what you liked about it. Try to convince me in the comments. Maybe there's just like some angle I'm not seeing of it, but I just didn't fancy it so much. And if we're talking about the cover, because I think we talked about the cover in the other episodes, I don't like when covers have a real person on it. I don't know, but I do like the bold yellow text and then the side. Thank you guys for tuning in for Sips and Synopsis episode 3, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.